Welcome to RCCA Media for our upcoming program, Get to Know Your Candidate. I'm Tom Loucks and will be the host for today's program. And today you'll hear from candidates running for office in the city of Wisconsin Rapids. So mark your calendars on April 7th, 2015 for the general spring election. And thank you for watching RCCA Media and getting to know more about city government.
My name is Andrew Kirkpatrick. I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Wisconsin Rapids, born and raised here. I'm 31 years old, went to university, UWSP. Somewhere around 2008, I started kind of getting the idea that maybe I wanted to get involved in community service in some way. The idea had always kind of been there in the back of my mind. I had always engaged in conversation and debate in high school classes, and I had one teacher that told me, if you really feel strongly about something, get involved. And so 2008, I decided I was going to run. I was still at the university at the time, full-time student, and I took the plunge at it. So 2009, I got elected, and ever since then, 6 years on the council, going for my fourth term, and everybody kind of says why, and I tell them I really enjoy it. I love the job. There's a lot of different aspects to it. So the other night I was on the phone with a lady who was having problems in her neighborhood. And so part of the job is connecting people with the correct city institutions, the correct city, I guess in her case it was within ordinance control. So getting the residents connected with the right people to help them with their problems. That's not all of it though, because sometimes you get the residents that want to talk to you about, well, why was this road project done? So you got to kind of get them to understand why something was done at the time that it was. You get the different ideas that come forward. So how do we feel about this ordinance or that ordinance, or maybe we should create an ordinance for something. So you get the input from the citizens at that point. And those are always really interesting conversations because, you'll sit there and go, well, I never really thought about that before, So maybe we take that up with Adam Teagan or with the mayor or whoever the case is. Of course, there's the meetings, and there's the tons of reading that often goes along with that. So my wife would tell you some nights she doesn't see much of me because I'm reading, I'm doing research on whatever topic is in front of us that particular month, but it's all stuff that I really, really love. I love the art of debate and the discussion, and it's one of those things where you still find a way to make connections with the people that you have to work with, with my fellow aldermen, city staff. So there's also been a great level of, even though we have heated discussions, we have a mutual respect for one another.
I'm Steve Koth. I'm running for alderman in the 5th District of Wisconsin Rapids. I'm originally a Wisconsin Rapids resident, 1999 graduate of Lincoln High School. Moved out of the area for a little while, lived over in Pierce County, Wisconsin. It's a western part of the state on the border of Minnesota. Done a lot of manufacturing jobs over there, plastic, leather manufacturing. Was in the Army National Guard, deployed to Iraq 04-05, and also worked for the city of River Falls as a reserve police officer for 10 years. 2012, decided to take advantage of some educational benefits, moved back here. Currently studying accounting at Mid-State with anticipated graduation of this May. Wanted to run for alderman because I believe there's a lot of positive change that can be done in Wisconsin Rapids, and the way I look at it is, there's two things you can do. If you don't like something you see, you can sit back and do nothing about it and get the same results, or you can throw your hat in the ring and take a chance and try to make some changes.
Well, I'm Scott Kellogg. I'm the alderperson from the 3rd District. I actually lived in Wauwatosa for 26 years, and I worked for the Wauwatosa Public Schools. And then I was fortunate to come to Wisconsin Rapids. I lived here for 18 years, and I was privileged to be principal of Howe Elementary School for 13, and I've retired for the last 5 years. So it's a wonderful place to be, and I wanted to actually retire in Wisconsin Rapids and be part of the community.
I'm Jim Stack. I live at 3220 Sampson Street. I've been there for probably over 30-some years. My wife and I are been married over 45 years, and we raised 4 children here in town. Children were Sharon, Aaron, Matthew, and Kevin. They've all moved on, and I'm not originally from here. I'm from New Jersey originally. My wife and I moved out here in '71. I became interested in serving on the city council when another person, my neighbor, and I can't remember his name at this time, but he and I were talking one night about it. He said, "Would you like to serve?" I said, "Yeah, I guess I would." And so then when he left to take another job, I served for a few months as a appointed council member, and then later ran for subsequent times for office. And so on and off, I've probably had about 20-25 years on the council in different capacities. I've served as a council president. I've served as chairman of some committees. That generally would be my background on the council here in the city.
How do you see yourself playing a role in economic development in the city of Wisconsin Rapids and the Southwood County area?
Well, I remember when I first ran, we had talked about one of the points was what can we do to foster economic growth? And one issue was getting involved, as you said, as a region. So there was that mutual cooperation that was taking place. We've been a part of the REGI initiative, which is Regional Economic and Growth Initiative, if I remember my acronym correctly. But so the city has been involved in that. We put money into that. We, as everybody always likes to say, we got skin in the game. So we've, at the city level, tried to be proactive, not just within our city boundaries, but also outside in what I always like to call the greater Southwood County area. So we're trying to do those proactive regional things, but at the same time, we want to do those, find new ways to do those things that make the city itself more economically viable. So we've got our certified site map out in the industrial park, which we don't have anybody in there yet, but it's a piece of property that's shovel ready, and we're looking for that medium to large size industrial capacity to come in and want in on that site. Recently, it's been released that we have purchased some properties in the downtown area, kind of by the triangle across from the courthouse, and we've seen people, or I've seen some conversations that said, well, they're just going to build a jail, or they're going to, they just want to run these businesses, out of business, and that's not true at all. We want to foster economic development. We want to foster growth. So if those businesses, we'd like to help those businesses relocate if we can. If their being in that exact spot is not necessarily in the grand plan, and we don't necessarily know exactly what that grand plan is yet, but in that particular case, I'd like to see some kind of a multi-story facility. I'd love to see the county involved on it. I think we have started having some of those discussions with the county to get them into a potential space there. I'd love to see professional offices, especially attorneys, lawyers in town. They're right there next to the courthouse, then ease of access for the citizens, for the residents. And you always want to make these things, we always talk about what can revitalize a downtown, and I hate the word revitalize because we've used it for so many years, but what can we do to maybe breathe new life or give people another look at the downtown in a different way? And another thing there would be, things that you see in larger cities, small shops, all right, maybe a cafe, and probably most importantly, residences up in the top. So you have people that are in the downtown already. That's where they go to live. They want to walk around down there. They want to be a part of that downtown community. So the city's looking at maybe ways that we haven't necessarily looked at in the past, ways to pick up smaller parcels in the downtown area and clean those up get those ready for a developer. If we can find, we're confident we can find somebody who's interested in developing a parcel like that. Quality of life issues, so what's great for economic development? Quality of life. What can we do to enhance what citizens do when they're not at home, when they're not at work? I think it was announced today. Today is March 11th. It was announced today that in 2016, Wisconsin Rapids, the aqua skiers, Lake Wazeecha, is going to be hosting the International Water Ski Tournament. That's awesome. I'm really excited about that. But we've also got other things that take place every single summer. We've got our Cranberry Blossom Fest. We've got activities for people to do. We've got the Rafters. What a great organization. Every single year they come before the council, and they've got another new idea of something that they want to do down there to enhance Witterfield. And I've had the pleasure and the opportunity to work closely with them over the last 6 years, 3 years, 4 years that they've been there. And like I say, every time they come up with something new, and they challenge us. So they've challenged us to come forward and get involved. We've done that, and our getting involved has also helped them receive the All-Star Tournament 2 times in a 3-year period of time, which to my understanding has never happened in the Northwoods League before. So that's a big thing for us. And we're also, we're going to be getting the city recognized in a state magazine, a state advertisement, which we've never done before again. It's the first time that we're going to do this. And the mayor, he brought this before the finance committee just a month or so ago. And it was great. He comes up and he says, we've got an opportunity for a 1-page ad. And I don't sit on finance, but I like to go to the meetings because it's always interesting, the stuff that comes there. And I said, why not try for 2 pages? The cost is not that much more. Let's go for 2 pages. First year in, make a big splash, make an impact, get Wisconsin Rapids out there, because this is a publication that's going out at the state level. This is a publication that's going out to everywhere in the country when the state goes to trade shows, and it's going international. So we've got a lot of opportunities to really foster economic development that we're already doing, and I think we're going to continue to see more opportunities like this as little things present themselves to us. And one of those little opportunities might be one of the great next big steps for us.
To foster growth in the area, I believe it's not just an individual effort by any one alderman. It's a group effort with working with the other aldermen and the mayor. To foster growth in this area, I believe it would be a team effort to work with other people, reach out to other businesses that might be looking at relocating and really advertising what we have to offer here in Wisconsin Rapids, an available workforce, people that want to work, location that we have in the west side, in the east side industrial park, rail access, and fairly close interstate access. So I believe just to do that, what you said, the nuts and bolts of it is, it involves teamwork, and that's how we can do it.
I think economic development, first of all, we have some structures in place with the East Side Industrial Park, the West Side Industrial Park. All of those are features that they're, I guess, shovel ready for a company coming in. So that, to me, is critical. The other thing that I think is happening, and I think people, if they sit back, they're going to see a great change in the economic development in this area. You have the golf course, Sands Golf Course coming in. The casino is talked about, expanding the casino, so that's construction and jobs, or people coming from Marshfield go to the casino and maybe come to Wisconsin Rapids. And at that time, we'll have the Tribune building completed. They could shop and eat in Wisconsin Rapids. Actually, the construction of the Tribune building, the modifications will provide jobs. You're going to have jobs as a result of the expansion of the county courthouse, where we're looking at building some complex opposite the courthouse, where there'll be condos or business offices for the county, as well as stores so people can shop downtown. You're talking about expansion of the YMCA near Riverview Hospital, and that'll provide jobs. I think Aspirus has talked even about some expansion that they might have at their existing clinic, but I don't know if that's the case. But when you add it all up, there's jobs coming to Wisconsin Rapids. There's construction jobs that'll be here in Wisconsin Rapids. And I think it's going to be flourishing. In the next 5 years, I think you look back and say, whoa, the changes that are taking place are really significant.
Well, Southwood County needs to be a growing area. We need to see that people feel comfortable coming into the city. We need to know that we can attract a younger person and their family. I realize at this time that I'm part of the greater graphics of the city in the sense that it's an older population. I see that in many ways. I'm sure you do in your capacity in meeting with people. So what we need to do is we need to have those opportunities that the younger person with their family sees an opportunity for Wisconsin Rapids. Something that's been brought to me is how can we have a technical facility in some way, perhaps associated with Mid-State Technical College, okay? And we have Renaissance out there, okay? They're right on the edge of education needs, providing services for the education community. Well, how can we piggyback with them and in other ways?
What do you consider is the primary role of an alderperson in the city?
Well, I think the way that things have kind of played out over the years is that the primary role of the alderman is, making the decisions on the information that's brought forward to him. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know, I guess if that's right or wrong, to be honest with you, but that's just kind of the culture that has defined itself. There are more ways to get active in the community, and I think some aldermen have found that in the past, recently as well, and I think that's great. I think we should be more involved in the community, and I'm always trying to find some opportunity to do that. So
I'd consider an alderman's primary role to be accountable to the people that put him there. Some people might think if you're an elected that has an elected officer, the people, you're the people's boss. I don't believe that. The people put you there by the choices they make on their ballot. Therefore, you're the people's boss. And your role as an alderman is to listen to the people and be their voice in City Hall. I mean, that's the idea behind a representative democracy, is to take the voice of the majority and carry it and do their will of what they want done.
I think the primary role is to look at how change can occur for the community as a whole, to get input from people as decisions are made, but to make that decision based on what you think for the community as a whole. And to look at how change can be positive and how we can promote that change with all aspects of the community.
Well, you represent people in the ward that you are a part of, and your idea is to be perhaps an interface between them and the city, try and answer their questions or help them with a comment, a question, a problem they might have. I think, though, the new interactive ability that the people have now to interface with the city will be a plus for them. The program where if you see something, you snap, click, and send. That's going to be a good program, I believe, for those who do that type of stuff. I'm not a smartphone user myself, but I know there's many out there who do. So that'll give people an opportunity to interface with the city in a different format, but a format that they are familiar with now, because, of course, I didn't grow up with a cell phone. I grew up with the phone wired to the wall, but how many people out there today use a smartphone, a cell phone, as a means to communicate in different ways? So it'll be a plus.
How do you stay in contact with the mayor and department heads when working on special projects?
Well, that's kind of one of the fun things about city government. This is something that we do just a few hours a month. Some months it's 2 hours, that's it. Other months you're in this thing for 10, 12 hours. I don't see my rhythm changing that much from the way that I currently operate. Like everybody else, I've got a cell phone. I've got my city email hooked right into my cell phone. I've got the mayor on Facebook. We text back and forth quite a bit, just in text messaging. We talk a bit on Facebook, and if something's more in depth, we call. With the rest of the city staff, I've got Shane on Facebook again too, so I'll hit him up on there. Like Adam Teagan and Jim Borski, those fellas, I'll give them a call or I'll shoot them an email. That just always seems to be the easiest way to get a hold of them. So I don't really envision, a great shift in how I stay connected. It's just a matter of sitting down for lunch at work and going, all right, let's pull out the phone and see if anybody's shot anything my way, and get home in the evening and sit down to watch a little TV, and oh, well, here, I got something to reply to. So
by having a civil dialogue, keeping the lines of communication open, there might issues that you can agree on are great. I think we all know the harder ones are the ones you don't agree on, and sometimes if one person's over on one position and another person's on another position, you just have to work together to find that common ground to come up with some sort of agreement or compromise that everyone can live with. But I don't think being a rubber stamp answer for either yes or no either way is the way to go. But then also, with working with department heads, the mayor, other aldermen, has the previous question for the role of alderman, you also need to keep your constituents involved too, and ask them, what are their feelings on the decision as well.
Well, I was part of Rapids Improvement. That is where they had the Lean Six Sigma concept, where they looked at all different departments and looked at areas where they can make their department more efficient. I, in particular, was with the library, and as a result, I was with the department heads for almost a year at different meetings. So I got to know them personally, and I got to know what's happening in the district. Also, I'm on the council for beautification, and it's a wonderful council. And actually, there's if people want to attend, it's the third Thursday of every month where anyone can attend and get involved in making Wisconsin Rapids more beautiful. I'm on the board of Macmillan Library, so I get involved with the community there. And with the Common Council, I'm on the Public Works, and I attend some of the other subcommittees where there's a topic that I think I'd like to have more information or have input in.
I think you need to have a written record in a sense. So for me, I think the email is still good. The email allows you to print out, copy, paste, whatever things is interesting to you at that point in that time. I'm not sure on how other things would be used. Certainly you can communicate via email. The phone still is there, but no.
Are you happy the way city government is currently working?
You don't necessarily always agree with how things take place. I can't say that I'm so dissatisfied that I want to picket myself or picket the rest of the council members, anything like that. I think we always need to be careful and keep a critical eye on ourselves and ask ourselves: are we really, are we being accountable? Are we doing what we should be doing? And I think one of the great things is that when we are in a meeting, you've got other council members that come to the meeting. I'm speaking specifically about committee meetings. You got other council members that come down there, and they might challenge you on something that you're talking about, or the mayor might challenge us. Give us kind of the other side of the story. So I think we do always need to be careful about what we're doing. I think we do our absolute best to be transparent, to not hold information back from the citizens. We don't want to keep anybody in the dark. That's not our intent at all. And if anybody really thinks that we have, I really apologize, because I think we really have been transparent in everything that we do. Some things have to be kept confidential by state law, and I just hope that the citizens recognize that, and if anybody ever would say, well, you're not being accountable, you're not doing your job correctly, I would hope that they would stand up and have the courage and the conviction and not feel fear about reprisal from anyone, that they could stand up and say, I don't think that you're doing an adequate job. I guess I personally haven't experienced anyone saying that to me. And in the last 6 years, that hasn't really been my experience, that we've had people saying that. Once or twice, yeah, but I think you're going to have that no matter what you do. But I think it kind of comes up at certain times, goes away. Comes up again at very specific times, goes away. It's not something that has been very consistent, very constant. So I want to say that I think that the city is doing a good job, the city council is doing a good job, the mayor's office and city staff is doing a good job keeping citizens informed, keeping the information transparent, staying accountable.
Well, the reason I decided to run is I ran for mayor, as a lot of people know, because I thought I could bring a lot of change to Wisconsin Rapids. There's been some things in Wisconsin Rapids that I, as a resident, thought could have been done better. A lot of my friends and neighbors encouraged me to run for alderman because they'd like to see change. And after I started listening to people, I don't think we're doing horrible as a city, but I think we could be doing a lot of things better. And I'd like to take that opportunity to try to make the city move forward and do better.
Yes, I am. I'm happy about how the city has been doing business. It's opening up with all the avenues with technology. I guess I have to say, if people feel they don't have input or they don't have a chance to get involved, I think they're not seeking how they can get involved. There's so many ways. As an alderperson myself, I'm open to contact. I have been contacted from people from my district and from outside my district, or get involved in the media committee meetings that I mentioned. Every Tuesday, first Tuesday of every month, anyone can attend any of the council meetings, the Finance and Property, Public Works, or Human Resource Committee. They can attend any of those. They could attend the Common Council meeting, and if they have an interest in making a comment on any of the items, they could contact their alderperson and ask them to introduce them to the Common Council and speak up to be heard. So I have a feeling that I think there's ways, if they just seek out and call their alderperson, and if they have a concern, but I think there's many ways they can if they look into it.
Yeah, I think so overall. It's not been bad. I enjoy some of the meetings I've had with the mayor and the other council members. I'm disappointed by the fraction that takes place between Encourage and Meadwitter. The ruckus that took place with the parking lot and the Tribune building. I don't know the reason behind that. I just know there's a ruckus, and we'll leave it at that. It's two groups that agree to disagree.
Is there a committee you'd like to serve on, and what position would you like to do?
I've had the pleasure to serve on all three standing council committees actually in the last 6 years. So Finance and Property, Public Works, and Human Resources. I'm currently on Public Works, and I do really enjoy that. It's interesting to have the discussions about what are we going to do about a specific road project? How would we like to develop that? How would we like that road to look? How would we like that streetscape to look? And a lot of that work actually comes out of that committee. You also have issues like we did the waterfowl came to the Public Works, mosquito abatement programs came to Public Works. So, I mean, these are quality of life issues also. I also, serving on finance, I believe, if I remember correctly, I've served 3 terms on finance, 2 on Public Works, and 1 on Human Resources. Finance, dealing with, the budget. That's always the biggest one that looms is the budget. So going through it line by line, but also things like special events notices, applications, and beverage operator licenses. Purchasing of things such as vehicles for city staff or for police, fire department, things of that nature. I love doing that, and I really enjoy that work. Watching out for what's in the best interest of the taxpayer, and looking out for the taxpayer's bottom dollar. Human resources. I'm not going to lie, that's not exactly my forte. We've got some folks that are really, really great on human resources. They've got a human resources background, maybe through their day job, something like that. I don't have that. So I have to say that human resources probably not in my number one hope. If I would get reelected, I don't hope to sit on human resources, and it's kind of a toss-up between finance and public works. I love what goes on at both. I'd say probably finance is the one that I really enjoyed the most out of the time that I've had the pleasure to be with the city. And I would hope that, if reelected, I would be chosen to sit on finance again. Been the secretary before, and just a regular third wheel member. But your decisions are really made at your committee level. So anytime that you have an opportunity to sit on one of those, you can really make a big impact right there.
Well, realistically, I don't think I'm cut out to be a chairman of any committee right off the bat, because going into alderman, there's a lot of things you have to learn. I'll be honest, you don't go into any job knowing everything. It takes time and training. From what I've looked at and studied, it seems our committees are made up of 3 people, one of them the chairman and 2 other aldermen. With that said, I'd be interested in the finance committee, and I'd be interested in a property development committee or some committees like that the city has.
I personally like the committee I'm on because you can see the results. It's the Public Works Committee of your discussions and issues, and you can hear about what people have to say about the roads and trees and landscape to make Wisconsin Rapids beautiful.
I'd be happy to stay there, but I serve at the pleasure of the mayor, and I think all the aldermen know that. And then I happen to be chairman this time, but that was because Chad is heading up human resources, and Terry was new, so he didn't feel he wanted to do it this first time. So subsequently, I'm sure he'd be happy to. From talking with him, I understand he's served in a number of volunteer capacities in the community, so it's be a natural for him, I believe.
There's been a lot of projects happening within the city of Wisconsin Rapids. Is there one project that you would like to be involved in as an alderperson?
Not necessarily in my district. I think one of the things that some folks kind of maybe don't have a clear distinction. I get that we have districts in town. Everybody understands that. And you always want to work for what's best for your district, but it's not my district versus another district. It's not their district, Tom's district trying to outdo Chad's district or anything like that. I think Chad's done a great job with his cleanup project over there in Ward 1. A lot of the plans that I see are not necessarily ward specific or district specific. I see it as what can we do for the city as a whole, for the residents as a whole. So I'd rather see more all-inclusive city-wide projects take place, because we're not such a big community that you really have clearly defined neighborhoods. We're not New York City. We don't have the Bronx. We don't have Brooklyn. We're Wisconsin Rapids. We got 18,000 people, and you can drive across town in 5 minutes if you hit the lights right. Some things I would like to work on further. I'd like to work with the mayor, and I've brought this up to him in the past, and I'm hoping that we can make some headway in the future here. I'd love to see the downtown area defined as a space and area with appropriate boundaries, and I would love to see that area branded to help define what it is that citizens would like to see in that downtown area. The historic downtown economic district, the Wisconsin Rapids downtown waterfront district. Pick something. I think we can really, make something really interesting there. We can drive home really what it is that we want to do in that area, and then we can get a clear plan in place for city staff and for the mayor to go out and really spearhead bringing in economic development down there. I mean, the downtown, it's where we have all of our civic functions. We've got Independence Day celebration down there. You've got lunch by the river. You have all your parades go down through there. Cranberry Blossom Fest. So there's so many opportunities down there. We just need to, I believe, capture the snippet and get a really clear idea of what it is we want to define that area as, that space as, and then find out how we want to go forward with it. And I think we got some good plans in place already. I think the comprehensive plan and the downtown waterfront plans, which we continuously reference dusting off the shelf, I think it's time that we start pulling those down a lot more seriously and look at those. And maybe that means we have some committee of the whole meetings as the whole council, not to make a decision right then and there, but to start getting that conversation going about how can we define this area and what can we do to foster economic development there. And of course, I always want to work on quality of life things. What can we do to increase quality of life? And those ideas don't necessarily always come from me. I think I've maybe got one or two ideas that I haven't necessarily fully fleshed out yet, and I want to do a little bit more research on before I really kind of throw them out there. But this quality of life, that's where you really, really, really look towards the citizens to let us know, communicate with us what it is that they want in the town. That's why I was really impressed with the group of students that came forward here in the last couple months with the social hosting ordinance. That's something that they wanted. And so I think we took a responsible action. We made that happen. Other quality of life, I talked about the rafters before. There's always going to be opportunities talking with the rafters. I believe firmly that they've committed to the long haul with our community, and I think it's a wonderful partnership, and they continue to do outstanding work in, it's not just when people come here to watch the game, it's when we go out to other communities, when we go down to Madison, we go to Green Bay and Wausau to watch a game. Those kids, they're from Alabama, they're from California, they're from all over the country, but when they're in the Cranberry, they're Wisconsin Rapids kids, right? So anything that we can do to foster that relationship is great. And I think also we're going to have more opportunities to work with Encourage. We took good action there too by getting them that parking lot agreement. That gets them one step closer to what it is that they want to do. And that's going to be, I can't wait for them to open their doors with their project. The citizens got incredibly involved in that. And I can't wait for that to open up so that the citizens can get in there and reap the benefits of the things that they've said they want in their community, and that we can get life brought back into that old building again. So do I have specific things that I want to work on? Maybe, but I think that really comes from the citizens a lot more than it does from the council, because the citizens are going to tell us what they want. So we need to keep our ears open for that line of communication.
Actually, yeah, I had an opportunity to speak with Chad Worrell, alderman from District 1, and he implemented the neighborhood cleanup project. I really got an opportunity to sit down and talk with him about the nuts and bolts of that program, and some other people when I've been out campaigning have asked me about the West Side cleanup project. When I talked to Chad, the nuts and bolts of that program, it's a wonderful program of what it did to remove unwanted waste from people's houses over on the west side. That's something that I would like to implement in the 5th District, and that's something I would definitely call on Chad to help me with if I was elected to work with him to get that going in our district. There's a couple spots in the 5th District that could use a little tender loving care and some elbow grease put into it.
Basically, I was impressed with Chad Worrell in Ward 1 where they did a cleanup. And I've had a number of my constituents and people that I've met at meetings, talk about how we could have a citywide cleanup day where items can be taken to a certain location, and they can, I think in Grand Rapids they have choose to reuse, and that type of concept where there might be items that could be taken and people could just turn them in, and other people could actually use them or take them and repair them and use them. So I think that's a great concept to start to introduce to Wisconsin Rapids, and I hope the city, we've talked about it, but I hope the city can initiate it actually as soon as possible, because I think it'll help make the city that much more pleasing throughout the city.
I'd have to say just that we continue with Ray Starks and seeing that those items that are of concern to the neighbors, that he's able to correct those as best possible. Sometimes those things take a while to clear up. Some are, just a matter of letting the person know that, hey, you have something you need to clean up. It's in violation of the ordinance, and they do it right away. Sometimes you run into situations where you have rental properties and it kind of stays that way for a time. Overall cleanliness of the city, that when someone comes through, they say this is a nice city and I think it's someplace I'd like to live. So you have to have a good face to the community.
How do you make yourself available to the public within your district if someone wants to ask you a question about a particular issue?
I wouldn't say there's a certain way. I think each conversation warrants maybe a little bit different response. Like I say, the other evening I had a couple voicemails on the phone at home, and I got the landline, which is, everybody can see that on the city website. Got a phone call there, called her back, and we were able to, I think, hammer out for the most part what we needed to talk about right there on the phone. In the past, I have gone out to someone's house or met them somewhere in town and discussed it there in person. Had one lady approach me in Subway, and of course you get the folks that'll catch you right after a council meeting in person. But then there's also, I've had one or two people send me something on Facebook, and of course there's always email. You get a lot of stuff on email. So really there's no one way that I would say is the best way. I'm probably guilty of checking my email and my Facebook more than I am my home phone, but I guess that's primarily just because I haven't had a phone for so long on a landline. But it does get checked, so no specific silver bullet for getting in touch with me.
I think the most traditional way that people contact their alderman is through telephone. I have my telephone number on flyers I've been handing out. If anyone wants to call me, give me a call. I try to return, if I'm not around, voicemail, I try to return phone calls in a reasonable time. On the more cutting edge technology end, I don't know how cutting edge email is, but I have one of those and I respond to it. And I can also be contacted through social media on Facebook. So those are three mediums where constituents, if they wanted to get a hold of me, could contact me. Otherwise, if elected alderman, I would still every once in a while just plan to go out and check the tempo of the district and knock on a couple doors and just visit with residents and see how they're doing.
You don't see too many people on the streets and get about and so forth. My telephone number is 715-570-4922. They can contact me that way. They can contact me by email through the City Hall. I guess I feel I'm out and about enough with the Tribune Building Initiative, with the McMillan Library Board, with the Youth Council. I have also worked a little bit over at House School. I think I'm accessible to people, and I've had many, contacts with people calling me or asking me questions. So I guess I'm trying to be in activities where the community's there, so they can see me and come up and talk to me, or I can talk to them and get their input. But basically, I think it's I have to seem to, I want to get out more in community activities so they have access to me.
The phone is the best, email second. I'm not a Facebook person, but phone or email. I had an email yesterday from someone. I've been corresponding with a person who wants to open a little business, and so we've been going back and forth on how that could be done. And but email is a good way, and the phone number's in the phone book. So,
tell us why voters in District 5 should vote for you.
Over the last 6 years, I have really done my best to maintain what I believe are high ethical standards. Honesty and integrity is something that I really feel I've brought strongly to the office as I've held it, and I want to maintain that. Like I said earlier, I believe that I have built a good rapport with city staff, with the mayor, with the other aldermen, with business leaders in the community when they come forward with something. And I think that good rapport, that honesty and integrity has really built a high level of mutual respect and trust. And I really hope that in the same token that I have built that same level of trust, that I have earned the trust and the respect of the citizens. And I believe that I have, because as I've said, I've had citizens walk up to me after a council meeting and say, I didn't agree with a single thing that you said, but I appreciate the fact that you sit up there and you voice your opinion, you voice maybe the other argument, and you do it in such a manner that is respectful, you do it with conviction, and you do it in such a manner that you can walk away from the other council members and still shake hands at the end of the night. It's a job that I love doing, and if I wasn't elected, I don't know what I'd be doing, but I would certainly be trying to do something else with the community. So I really do hope that you would vote for me again. I think that we got a lot of good work that we can continue to do, and I really hope that I can continue to earn your trust every single time that I sit down in the chair.
I would like to ask the people of the 5th District for their vote on April 7th, because I feel that I do have the ability to be a competent elected official. I've learned a lot of life lessons from work in the private sector, from work in the military sector, from doing work with a law enforcement agency. I've learned a lot in my schooling at Mid-State. I've developed ways to work with other people. I believe in conflict resolution, and just really looking for ways to build on things and improve things. I think Wisconsin Rapids is a great community. To me, this has always been home. Even when I moved away from here, this has always been home. I really love my community, and I want to see it thrive and survive, and I want my children to have good memories here as well too. When my children are of age, I don't want to see them have to leave home for 10 years to go do something else. And I think a lot of people would like to see their kids live closer to home. There's a lot of opportunity here, and I believe if elected alderman, I could find a way to capitalize on that opportunity and really build our community up again.
Please tell me why it's important to get out and vote this spring election.
It's important for everyone to get out and vote. In the United States, we're privileged to have the opportunity to vote for national, state, and local representatives. And that is when you can have your voice heard. And I think we take it for granted sometimes, or whenever there's a major controversy, then we go out and vote. But I think to get in the practice and showing our children that we go out and vote and pass on that privilege to them is critical. Especially on the local level, you have a chance to vote for people that impact your lives daily, from your taxes to the quality of living in your city. So I would encourage everyone to get out and vote. Take their children with them to show how they're honoring that privilege and hopefully pass it on to them. So I encourage that for everyone to do.
Voting is a right that you have, and in a way it's an obligation you have as well to take time to go out and vote. I realize it takes time from your day, and sometimes you'll find yourself standing in a line and you've got something else you want to do. But if you take time to vote and your children know that you've done that, then you're going to pass on a bit of a heritage to your children. In a way, the old voting booths that we used to have, and I don't know if you remember them, where you pulled a lever and it closed the curtain behind you and you threw a tab for this or you threw a tab for that. Well, your kids come along with you. How many times did a kid get a chance to throw a tab? And this is who mom or dad wants to vote for, so you want to push that tab for me. So you've built a little heritage in there. It's as things go, it's small, but still it's a necessary part of a democracy that we're a part of, to take time to go out and vote. So this coming April, spring elections are generally light. I think there might be a Supreme Court justice, alderman here in the city. For those who live outside the city, there's probably a couple of races in the Grand Rapids Township communities outside Rapids. So, wherever you might live, take that opportunity to read up on the candidates, take time to go and vote. Make sure that it's a part of your life just as anything else is. This year we'll have the spring and probably have some fall elections. I think typically there's a fall election. I'm not sure, but watch the paper, watch for the election guide that'll be in the paper later. Get out and vote.
Thanks for tuning in to our program, Get to Know Your Candidate. Please tell your friends and family about the program you just watched so others can become educated about the candidates before heading out to the polls on April 7th, 2015. You can always view this program as well as hundreds of other local programs produced by RCCA Media staff and volunteers. Just watch us on demand at rccamedia.org at any time or on cable television.